right? Understanding that you make space for those nutritious foods most of the time, and you leave some flexibility to include some of the other foods that we know may not be as nutritious, but they serve a different purpose. Food is not always just about
Mhm.
the nutrition side of it. Some of them feed your soul. It may help you
Yeah.
cure homesickness. There's several ways that food function in our lives, socially, emotionally, in various ways. So we make space for all of that, and we embrace it, and we understand that.
Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Dr. Ami Patel. I'm a pharmacist, fellow sister, and PCOS holistic coach. Today, I'm really excited to have with me Amber Alexis. She is known as a cultural dietitian. Thank you so much, Amber, for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's been a long time coming.
Yes, definitely. So a little bit more about Amber. Amber Alexis is a public health nutritionist and registered dietitian. She's certified in integrative and functional nutrition, also known as a cultural dietitian. Amber focuses on providing informative and culturally sensitive nutrition content for the Caribbean diaspora and alike. When she's not writing, creating content, presenting, or consulting with clients, she enjoys traveling, quality family time, and adventurous outdoor activities throughout her Twin Isle home, Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
Awesome. So it's so exciting to have this conversation. You know, you have such a diverse background, and I'm really excited to get into it. So let's get started. Well, first of all, how did you decide to become known as like the cultural dietitian? Like, is that something you knew when you were studying? Like, that's what I want to focus on, or did it develop out of something?
It developed. I did not know that this is the direction that I would have taken. So I left Trinidad 4 years ago now, went to the US to pursue my master's in public health and my registered dietitian training. And it was during my internship that I realized, hey, something is missing. There's a disconnect
Mm-hmm.
between some of the dietitians and clients or patients who would have had a different cultural background. And although there was a presentation about it in one of our classes, it really hadn't resonated across the department with respect to how things would have been handled. The hospital did an awesome job at having certain resources in place, but at the nutrition level, there was a major disconnect. And I felt this sort of patriotism and pride, and like, these are my things, these are my foods, and I want to represent them, and I want to stand firm on them, because the message that we needed to, oh, this is not healthy for you, and you have to
Yeah.
adopt something completely different, it just did not resonate with me at all. So it wasn't until after I completed my internship, I became a dietitian. I started to write a blog. I'm like, okay, I was stuck in the US for a couple of months because of the pandemic, couldn't get back home.
Mm.
I'm like, oh, let me write a blog to pass the time. And I began this blog, started off as Amber Charles RVN, that's my middle name. And then I'm like, you know what? I love the concept of balanced nutrition. Let me see. Now, I was
Mhm.
new to social aspects of social media, right? So I'm like looking to see if there's a name out there like the balanced nutritionist. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there are quite a few. Okay. And I kept looking at variations. I'm like, you know what? I want something that really represents
Mhm.
what I feel and what is the message that I want to send out there. I'm like, you know what? The cultural dietitian. Once you hear the name, it already sends a message of what you can expect coming out of my blogs, my services,
Mhm.
things that I'm going to be speaking about. It really embodies what I want to represent without even me having to open my mouth just yet. So it was definitely an evolution towards figuring out the cultural dietitian, why the cultural dietitian, and how important it is to me to send a message that there is a way to incorporate your cultural
Mhm.
foods without harming your health, in the pursuit of good health, and without feeling as though these are bad things and I need to adopt something that's very unusual to me or foreign to me. And it's
Right.
okay to learn how to use these foods. So that's the evolution of the cultural dietitian.
That's so amazing. And I'm really excited when I came across of your page because, you know, someone who is a first generation American, but my parents
Mm,
grew up in India. So at home growing up, like, you know, I always ate my cultural foods. white rice, rotis, things like that. But then living in America and, being exposed to the Western diet, that's
Yes.
when there's always like, I don't know, there's always that negative association, with white rice and with PCOS, like, oh, carbs, don't eat carbs. So I was excited that I came across of your page and you have such great content on how you can eat those things, which we will talk about.
Thank
And
you.
also, I wanted to talk about or mention that, like you said, from your experience from a like dietitian perspective, when you were meeting with clients, like when I was trying to find like a couple years ago, like a dietitian to help me with my PCOS, that was a struggle I had because I felt like, they didn't understand the foods I ate. And, if they
Mm,
were asking me to eat certain foods, I may not have liked it. And like
yes.
my sister and my mom, they actually both met with dietitians previously. And similar to what you were saying, like the dietitian didn't understand completely, like, what the foods they were eating and how that fit into their diet. And then sometimes if they said, you should eat something else or gave them examples, and it was hard to implement because, like, my mom
Mm,
would have to make the regular food that they eat on a day-to-day basis, like for my dad. But then, if she had to try to eat something else, it just wasn't like realistic or feasible.
yes. And I remember you mentioned that to me in a previous conversation. And it's really
Mhm.
an important thing to acknowledge. Hence, I always say cultural competence in the field of nutrition and dietetics is very important, or cultural sensitivity, just being aware, but also not laying the blame on those who don't have that cultural exposure for not being able to make that translation, but also from a client's perspective of being aligned with someone who may have that cultural background similar to you and may be able to
Mhm.
support you in a different way. Because even though we are speaking about not, like we're defending our cultures, everyone has a different cultures, and being
Yeah,
able to
exactly.
respect that, okay, you just sort of align yourself with persons who have that similarity and will be able to translate that for you in a particular way. But it's very important. What you find happening is that there may be a misinterpretation that a client or patient is being non-compliant based on the information that they've been given,
Hmm.
compared to them being unable to really follow through with it based on how disconnected it is from their day-to-day activities, the foods that they are accustomed consuming. They also may not understand, well, how do I use this new food
Hmm.
to support my health? So there's a disconnect there, and that can sometimes be misinterpreted as non-compliance from the client's perspective, when it's really just, lack of understanding across both spectrums.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just like a lot of miscommunication, misunderstanding. It's not like
Yes.
like you said, it's not like anyone is intentionally blaming or, saying anything.
Yeah.
Or like you said, the clients are being non-compliant.
Yes.
So then going along with that, so like how can someone understand that their food is like healthy or okay to eat if, like, in mainstream culture we hear things that are not like, for example, like, the white rice, the roti and ghee, even for like a period of time, I don't know, I guess people were saying that ghee has too much fat and things like that. But
Yes.
now it's become popular, like, oh yeah, you should have ghee for
Yes.
everything. And like this has been literally part of like, our
Your
culture for years and
culture.
years and years.
Yes. That I have that same feeling towards coconut oil. So
Yes,
I grew
yeah,
up with
that
coconut
too.
oil, and it was
Hmm.
like normal. And then it became
Yeah.
this bad thing, and now it's like coming back. And I'm like, this was my thing. Like, this is what we use. We use it in our hair and our skin. We use
Yeah.
it to eat and cook, and it was just like there for everything. So I have that similarity with coconut oil. But in terms of someone understanding, I would say become curious about,
Hmm.
well, what is the nutritional information? Not just what's said out there, what's general to dietitians or even healthcare professionals, if possible, depending on where you are, who would have that background and can support you in that way to help you understand the importance of your food. So for example, I sent an email to my subscribers yesterday speaking about what we call ground provisions or tubers, things like dasheen or taro and cassava, and the
Hmm.
fact that these are healthy foods that we can consume. They do fit into a balanced diet, and you don't have to feel as though, well, you have to replace it with something completely foreign. because we don't understand the food. So getting an understanding and getting more knowledge about these foods help you to become more confident in the ways that they can work to support you.
That makes sense. I think it got cut out in the middle. So you were saying, I
Oh,
think to summarize, you were saying like look at the nutrition content and what it is, as opposed to like somebody just saying like, this is good or this is bad, and also consulting with
yes.
professionals or people that actually know.
Yeah, that will have like a similar background to you. So being able to seek out someone who has an understanding, has a demonstrated understanding of your culture, and can
Mhm.
explain, okay, well, this is what it is. These are the nutrients that you can get from it. These are ways that you can include it in your diet and lifestyle and make it something that works positively for you, and not just see it as a blanket black and white negative thing, but understand that there's nuance in everything that we do.
Good, good. Yeah, I like that. That's really important. That's why I love seeing your content, because it's just like that's exactly like what you're posting, like, okay, you can eat this and this is exactly how you can eat it. So yeah, for those of
Yes.
you that are following her, yeah, definitely follow her.
Thank you.
So how can we continue to empower our audiences to embrace their cultural foodways without judgment?
Yes. So I do think a major part of it is education. Again, work that I am doing, you are doing, other health professionals are doing, and sending the message out there that these foods are okay. These foods can fit into your lifestyle. They deserve a space on your plate, as I like to say. They deserve that
Mhm.
spot on there. Like you get to embrace and reclaim your cultural foodways and understand that no, having a macaroni pie is not gonna be so detrimental to health goals or roti. Personally, I love roti as well. We have our own like East Indian, West African fusion here, and it's amazing. But having those things fit, right? Understanding that you make space for those nutritious foods most of the time, and you leave some flexibility to include some of the other foods that we know may not be as nutritious, but they serve a different purpose. Food is not always just about the
Mhm.
nutrition side of it. Some of them feed your soul. It may help you
Yeah.
cure homesickness. There's several ways that food function in our lives, socially, emotionally, in various ways. So we make space for all of that and we embrace it and we understand that white rice, for example, as you've been mentioning, I can add things to make this
Mhm.
white rice more balanced. So we've grown so accustomed, or we've been told so many times that
Yeah.
we have to exclude, and you can't and you can't and you remove things and you're like, so what am I supposed to eat, right? And sometimes the message is like, white rice is bad. Do we sit down and just eat white rice? No. So you understand that I get to add my white rice. I add my protein source, which may
Mhm.
be vegetarian or animal based. And I stock up on my lovely vegetables, which can be fresh, it can be cooked. It's the same way we don't have to have a salad diet. You can
Yeah.
combine these things in various ways, cooked vegetables in ways that you enjoy, and you sit and you enjoy that white rice with a complement of other nutritious foods and understand that, hey, this is balance. I'm able to incorporate these things and it's okay for me. And once you gain that understanding for yourself, even when the little naysayers come, you're like, I understand what it is I'm doing. I know why it is I'm doing what I'm doing. And I feel confident in choosing my foods every time.
Yeah, I think that last part you said is really key is, you should know what you're doing, whatever choice you're making, like, stick by it and you should know it so that when other people are, well, maybe not encouraging you or saying things like, oh, I thought you were on a diet. Why are you eating that? Oh, that's not healthy for you. Then you know that, you're making the choice because you understand that, hey, I can eat this and it is still healthy because I'm eating this meal as a whole, like you said, with the protein and the veggies and the fiber and the healthy fats.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's very important. And there is still a lot of peer pressure even as adults. And in the dieting world and diet culture world, you realize that you can get food shamed as much as you can get body
Mm,
shamed. So it's really important to have that security in what it is you're doing, and of course seeking the appropriate support to do so.
yeah, definitely. No, that's really important.
And how about you? How have you been able to navigate like your clientele with, supporting cultural foods and PCOS? How's that been for you?
Great question. So, like you said, kind of evaluating what the food really is, like looking at, um, like, is it a protein or is it a carb or is it a healthy fat or is it filled with fiber? And then um, seeing if there's a way that we can mix multiple things, like, for example, paneer. I don't know if you know what that is, paneer.
Yes.
So sometimes there's lots of recipes that have paneer, but then they can also add in like keep half paneer and then maybe add in like half tofu and mix it
Mm-hmm.
together so that you can increase the protein content, but you still get the taste and you can still keep the gravy as is, but you're just increasing like the protein content a little bit. And
Mm-hmm.
then like other dishes like dosa, if you were familiar with that, it's basically like go ahead.
Flatbread, is it?
It's like
No.
it's like a really big like rice based batter that's like
Okay.
cooked on the stove and it's like really really thin and crispy. And so that like there's other options for that, like you can make it with like quinoa, but doesn't taste as good and sometimes it's not
Mhm.
always feasible, right? Like if you're going out to eat or if you're in social gatherings with family, then most likely that's what's going to be there. And then with
Mhm.
that, it comes with like potatoes primarily, which is of course also another big like, oh my God, potatoes. But that's also eaten with like coconut chutney. So, that's where you get like the healthy fats from. And then the sambar, which is made of like lentils primarily. So then, I teach my clients like instead of them being like, having the idea that, oh, I can't ever eat this because it's only potatoes and white rice, but having them understand that you can still have that, but maybe just have a little bit more of like the lentils and the coconut chutney, or instead of just potatoes, add in some more vegetables like you were saying.
Yes, I agree. So it's just learning how do I rebalance or recalibrate
Mm.
some of these meals to really support you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that's like really key in what you're doing, and what I try to teach my clients as well is like something that's sustainable, right? Because we don't want it to be like, okay, here's like this diet plan for 12 weeks and then after that good luck. Because
Yeah.
like you're saying, because food is like makes up a lot of social events and holidays and family gatherings and traveling, and so it's
Yeah,
just
it's
teaching.
multifunctional. I agree. I absolutely agree. And it's very empowering as we would have discussed, it's very empowering for someone to be able to look at this plate and say, hey, what can I add? One, two, how can I, enjoy these foods without feeling guilty? Because we've been really driven to feel guilty about our food decisions, which in turn take us down a really bad rabbit hole when it comes to
Yeah,
getting out of that psychological bind.
yeah, definitely. And then I think what you said was yeah,
Yeah.
making it sustainable basically and empowering
Making
like
it
you said. Yeah.
sustainable. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, those were the questions I had. Was there anything else you wanted to add in that you feel like would be important?
Um, so I think on the note of sustainability, it's important to understand that when we think of building a sustainable habit, using what you have access to really supports that. A lot of times when
Mhm.
you get into a new diet, especially something that's going to be foreign to you or foreign food, it's difficult to stick with because that's not what you are accustomed to. Maybe the prices may be, more expensive than the other foods that you have access to. Maybe the taste, the flavor, just the thought of I cannot have something else makes it very difficult. So when you think of
Mm,
building a sustainable habit, I think it's important to know that it's going to take some time. You're not going to get the quick and fast results that you may get in other with other programs, but understanding that using what I have access to, as I like to say, what's in your backyard, making that
mhm,
work for you is where that sustainability comes in. So it doesn't come in by you being able to stick to this very restrictive style of eating for the next three
mm,
months. That's not what it means. That's a cycle, and it's a cycle for a reason. So building that sustainable food habit is really built into your cultural foodway foundation. and building on top of that. So you don't have to look everywhere else to
Mm-hmm.
get what it is you need. It's already there. Just continue to educate yourself, remain consistent, and commit yourself to the long haul of what that's going to look like for you. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
my
great.
biggest takeaway on building a sustainable food habit.
What you said about like focus on adding instead of like eliminating, and
Yes.
that's really key too. Like you said, start with the foundation of what is already around you, and then focus more on adding, like adding a variety of vegetables or things that you think
Yes.
you didn't like when you were a kid and you haven't had it in 10, 15 years, then maybe
Yes.
consider trying it
Yes.
again, right? Like adding that in,
Yes.
as opposed to being like, okay, I'm going to cut this out. And like you said, having that, I think, mindset, like making it, enjoyable, tasty, and focusing on
Yes.
adding like different varieties and trying different things instead of like, oh, I can't eat this, or what am I going to eat, or I can't go out to this restaurant because I can't eat anything, or I can't
Yes.
go to this event because I'm stressed out about what I'm going to eat there.
Yeah, and that's very important because there are persons who may avoid social gatherings or situations
Right.
because of the fear around food. And I do believe by adding, you empower yourself to embrace a social situation that may have been scary before with
Hmm.
curiosity that allows you to say, oh, okay, how can I make this work for me? How can I feel confident in this? How do I feel comfortable? How do I nourish my body with foods that make me feel and have more energy or just feel lighter and not too concerned about maybe the sluggish feeling after. It really is about becoming curious about what
Hmm.
you can get more of and sort of leaving that restrictive mindset to the side. Like, okay, I understand I can't do too much of a particular food all the time every day, but
Right.
hey, what are some other things that I can add and really give myself some flexibility of what I'm doing?
Yeah, and then that empowerment, like we are saying, that when you are in those social situations, since you're comfortable knowing, like what you're eating and why you're eating it, then you feel more empowered in those situations and comfortable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. Yes.
Well, if anyone wants to see your content or connect with you or become a client, how can they find you?
You can find me on social media. That's Facebook and Instagram at The Cultural Dietitian. That is Cultural. Yeah. Dietian. Dietitian with a T, not a C.
Okay.
And then on my website as well, www.theculturaldietitian.com. So it's
Awesome.
across the board. Email, if you want to email me to learn more about my programs, you can get me at amber at theculturaldietitian.com. That's reserved for client communication, so it will be easier for me to find. And you can feel free to reach out to me, follow me on Instagram or Facebook, and message me if you would like to get some information there as well.
Awesome. And I will add that in the description as well.
Yes, thank you.
And once again, Amber, thank you so much for this conversation. I really enjoyed it. And I think everyone will find it really educational.
Thank you so much for having me, Ami, and hopefully we get to do this another time
Yeah,
as well.
definitely, definitely. And if anyone has any questions, leave them in the comments and we will get back to you guys. As always, be kind to yourself, be patient, and focus on progress, not perfection. I'll see you guys next time.